Hello! I am the host of the Feltedrich channel, the world's most iconic figure, Charlie Chaplin. I am one of the names who struggled the most on the path from poverty to riches. In an era without colors and sound, I made languages meaningless by speaking only with my gaze and movements and became a universal artist. They said this about me, the sad millionaire behind the smile. I am the funniest man the world has ever seen. I had been a guest in millions of homes with my tight jacket, bowler hat, baggy trousers, and famous waddling walk, but the actual reality was completely different. I was a millionaire trying to grow up in the back and cold streets of London, who had declared war on the system, who was both in love with money and terrified of spending it. Life for me was tragedy in close-up, comedy in long shot. I have divided my life into chapters for you, so you can understand me more easily. Chapter 5, My Talent Born from Misery. My destiny was spent with a childhood written on poverty. I was born on April 16, 1889, in the East Lane district of London. My mother and father were stage artists, but this situation was not enough to offer us a happy home. I was very young when my father left the house. In 1901, my father died from an alcohol coma and, unfortunately, left us neither an inheritance nor any security. The real tragedy began when my mother, a stage artist, lost her voice and broke away from the stage. All the responsibility had fallen onto my and my stepbrother Sydney's shoulders. My mother had also started to lose her mental health. Everything was going from bad to worse. I grew up in an orphanage called the Workhouse in London, where the destitute and poor stayed. Later, I stepped onto the streets and slept among the garbage. The tramp character was actually little Charlie shivering on the streets himself. I was 5 years old and had gone on stage to sing in place of my mother. That very first experience was the only light at the end of the dark tunnel. Chapter 4, Climbing the Steps Rapidly and My Financial Rise. Do you know when my destiny changed? We were on an American tour in 1913, and the famous director Max Sennett discovered me. And thus, one of history's greatest financial rises had begun. I learned my relationship with money and my bargaining ability from the hunger I experienced in my childhood. I know my salary increase in my career is still an incredibly difficult success story by Hollywood standards. When I started working at Keystone Studios in 1913, my weekly earning was $150. This might be good money for that period, but it was not enough for me. In 1914, just 1 year later, I used my popularity to get a weekly salary of $1,250 and a $10,000 signing bonus. In 1916, my fame had spread to the world. A weekly $10,000 and a $150,000 signing bonus meant a total of $670,000 annually. Go on, calculate the inflation. It corresponds to approximately $15.7 million in the year 2026. The year 1917, and I am approaching the peak. I signed an agreement for exactly $1 million. Chapter 3, My Strange World as a Stingy Millionaire. The most asked question is what I was doing with this much money. I had lived through such bad days that I was afraid of spending my money due to deep poverty and traumas. One day, Marlon Brando said to me, "The most sadistic and stingy person I have ever seen in my life." I wouldn't cash the $1 million checks I received from studios for months. I would drive them around in the trunk of my car. Touching cash gave me the feeling that I was safe. Although I was a millionaire, I did not live in luxury and stayed in shabby hotel rooms. Please don't judge me anymore, but there is one more thing. I would wear my shirts until they fell apart. My assistant even begged me to change my shirt, which had a banana stain on its collar. No matter how rich I was, my soul was that poor child on the streets of London. Chapter 2: The Prices I Paid After My Rebellion Against Capitalism. I earned my wealth thanks to the capitalist system, I know, but I was still the one who criticized it the harshest. I loved money, but I did not love injustice. The despair of the poor people and the robotization of humans by industrialization disturbed me. I also made criticisms about Nazi Germany. I shot it with my own money. I can do what I want, right? All of these had consequences. I was accused of being a communist sympathizer in America and was labeled as a persona non grata by the FBI. I started being harassed with the excuse of tax debt, and when I went to London for a film premiere in 1952, the US government banned my entry into the country. I had to leave a part of my wealth in America and settled in Switzerland, living a comfortable but exiled life until the end of my days. Chapter 1: The bill for my private life was heavy. My wealth was starting to melt away because I was fond of women and had problematic marriages. My biggest mistake was the relationships I had with underage girls, and for this reason, the nickname "the old goat" was given to me. Divorcing my second wife, Lita Gray, was the hardest. It had created a financial earthquake effect. Lita claimed I cheated on her and that she was forced to marry, demanding record compensation. In the end, I had to pay Lita $625,000. For that period, this was one of the highest amounts paid in a divorce case. I found peace in my last wife, Una O'Neill, who was 36 years younger than me. We had 8 children from this marriage, and I lived happily with her until I died. Conclusion: grave robbers and a concrete end. I was going to die in my sleep at my home in Switzerland, but my trial with money was never going to end. Months after my death, 2 mechanics opened my grave and stole my coffin. To get rich the short way, they demanded a 400,000-pound ransom from my family. My wife knew me very well. She refused the ransom, saying Charlie wouldn't give a single penny for this nonsense. The police caught the thieves in a phone booth and found my coffin in a cornfield. After this event, a thick layer of concrete was poured over my grave so that no one would disturb me again. A tragic end. Isn't it strange? My hat and cane were sold for $100,000 after I died. My films were watched by billions of people. I stood up to kings and dictators, but I couldn't bring myself to throw a shirt in the trash. Maybe life itself was a cinema. Perhaps the state of silence began with my mother. But in the final scene, I made my voice heard to the whole world. I am the world's most iconic name, Charlie Chaplin, the host of the Felted Rich channel. I am now always among you. See you in another video. Goodbye for now.